Good morning, student. In our previous lecture, we have seen the error and types of error. Now, we are going to study about exception in Python in this lecture. Now, start. What is the exception? Exception is a situation or error that occurs during runtime or execution time, and you have no control on it. That means exception are any cause which can occurs during your runtime or execution time of the program, and it may be terminate your program or halt your execution. Now, if we are going to take the example, suppose that if you want to access data at index 5 from a list, suppose that you have created a list 1 equal to 1 2 3 4. This is the of length 4, and you are going to access data at index 5 from a list of length 4, then this will be out of range. Now if you are going to print list 1 5, now if you are going to see the indexing of this, indexing will be the 0 1 2 3, that means total element of 4, and you are going to see the list index at 5 or index at 4, then this will generate the error out of range error. That means there is no element at index 5. This is your indexing 0 1 2 3. There is no element or 5 4 5, that means there is no element at index more than 3, that means 4 5 6 7, this is the not present in the your list. Then there is no element found at index 5, this is called the index error. Now if we take another example, if you are going to read a file from your device, and the file name is myfile1, and there is no such name file exists in your device, then this will also generate an exception. Now the runtime, whether your code and program are exact and correct, but when the file is not found, then what will happen? Then exception is occurs. Now some built-in exceptions in Python. Now there are some predefined exception in Python. This is called built-in exception. That means some type of exception are defined by the Python. Now see, first one is in EOF error, that means end of file error, raised when one of the built-in function input hits an end of file condition without reading any data. That means when you are going to read any data and there is the parser has reached to the end without reading any data, then this is called end of file. That means the parser is reached to the end of file and no data found. Next one is your input output error, raised when input output operation such as print or built-in open function or a method of a file object fails or an input output related region, example file not found or disk full. Now input output error can be generated when your input output device is not going to work properly with your program, or fails, or full or not found. Next one is your name error. Name error when any identifier is not found. Suppose that if you are going to, now let's see it with the help of example. First one is your end of file error. End of file error, that means when you are going to read any value and the parser is reached at the end of your file and there is no output traced or read by the interpreter. Now your second one is input output error. Second one is your input output error, that means the error related to input output devices like file not found, disk full or disk failure, this type of error. Now your third error is name error. Third one is your name error. Name error, like if you defined str1 equal to exception. Now we are going to print str2. This will generate error because string 2 is not found. Here you have assigned the value of string 1 and you are going to access the value of string 2 in while string 2 is not defined, not found. This is called name error. Your next error is index error. Next one is index error. Index error we have seen in the previous slide. Here you can see the index error. This is called your index error. This is called your index error. See, this is your index error. Now your next error is import error. Import error. It occurred when if you are going to import any file. Suppose we are going to import my math module. Suppose we are going to import my math module and there is no module found in Python by name my math. That means we are going to import my math library or module, but we have not saved any module named my math. Then this will generate import error. Next one is your type error. Next one is your type error. Type error, that means if you are going to perform any operation under different type of operation on different type of value or identifier or literals. Suppose that if you are going to assign a equal to Python, now you are going to print a by 2. This is type error. You cannot divide Python by 2 because this is the operation can be performed on integer or float value, not on string value. This is called your type error. Now your next error is value error. Your next error is value error. Now if you are going to take a equal to input, enter the value. Now if you are going to assign enter the value, a value is 12. Now this is your value error because input by default take the string type of value. Now this will not going to generate error, but 12 is treated as string. Now if we are going to take now see, if we are going to take int input. Now if we are going to take the value int input and we are going to store the value abc, now this will generate your value error, because by typecasting input with integer, it can take only integer value, but here we are going to put the string value in a. This is raised value error. Now your next error is zero division error. Now your next is zero division error. Here we cannot divide any number with 0. 10 divided by 0, 5 divided by 0. This is the case of exception, because in any division the denominator must not be 0. Next, your next error is overflow error. Overflow error. That means if you have, when we are going to store any value like a, you have defined a variable a and you are going to store large expression in a, then this will be raise the overflow error. If you are going to declare a list of range 5 and you want to store 6 element, 10 element in that, then this is the overflow error. And your next error is key error. Next is key error. If you are going to define dictionary and suppose that your name and age are two key, this is your key. Here we are going to assign values. Now we are going to define a. The value of name is a, but we are not going to define any value to age. Then this will generate key error, because there is no key found to the matching or existing set of value. Or if we are going to define the value and we are not going to define the key, this is called key error. Now this is the some built-in exception in Python. There may be some other exceptions in your program. Now how to handle the exception? If we are going to face any exception, then what should we do and how you will overcome to the exception? Now the exception handling. Exception handling is a process of catch the exception and remove it from the program. In Python, it is achieved by try and except clause. There are two statement or clause in Python that is used to handle the exception. First one is try, that means where we are going to catch the exception, and except where we are going to throw the exception. In try, we are going to catch exception, except where you are going to throw the exception. Now see it in detail. Try includes all the code that may generate exception. If we are going to write the program and you have suspect to any lines of code or any block of code that can generate any exception, then we should put that block of code in within the try block, try clause. Now if the exception is occurred, then what to do when exception is occurred? What should we do when exception is occurred? Yeah, what message we should prompt to the display window? In case of exception, that code which tells the program what to do when exception is occurred, that put in except clause, that will be written in except clause. Now see it with example. See here, Try write here the code that may generate any exception, except write code here about what to do the exception has occurred. Now see here, we have written two statements in your try block. Print result of 10 divided by 5 equal to 10 divided by 5. Now print result 10 divided by 0 equal to 10 divided by 0. Now we have seen this line is called zero division error. This will raise an error like zero division error. Now we have put the except clause here. Print divided by 0 error, denominator must not be 0, and we have to give the message to the user, that means denominator must not be 0. Don't put 0 as a denominator in the program. This is your except block, this is your try block. I hope you have clear understanding of exception and how to handle the exception in Python. Now in our next lecture we are going to see debugging of program, how to handle error and exception in program. Now thank you for watching today.